everyone, Scottiplier PopCultFan here, and today I want to reflect on my New York trip. This will basically be a tribute/discussion video of my New York trip, and you know, we did as much as we could within the 3 nights and 2 days that we were there. You know, we arrived there around the nighttime-ish on the 21st last week, and we were going to do like a bus tour. It would have been like a city 3-hour bus tour. We were going to do that, but we were tired. We just got to New York from all the traveling with the flights, and we were tired. So we decided to go out for dinner instead. And that was a really awesome dinner that we had. It was like this kind of steakhouse, kind of meat, all-you-can-eat meat kind of buffet kind of restaurant, and I loved that. It was my favorite meal throughout the whole trip. It was a lovely dinner, and I really enjoyed that. And then the next day, the 22nd, on Tuesday, we did as much as we could. We did this superhero walking tour throughout the city, and got to see so many different like filming locations for like this Maguire Spider-Man films. I got to see like where the Daily Bugle building was, as well as the the Oscorp building from the Amazing Spider-Man films. I saw where that was, as well as Avengers Tower, and how it looks nothing like Avengers Tower, but like the basis of the bottom of the tower was kind of there, with something else like that was like built on top of it that made it not look like Avengers Tower, but it still was, and it was a really cool trip, and really cool walking tour, and I also saw the building with the Daily Planet globe thing from the original Superman 1978 film, which that was really cool too. Like it was such a cool tour. I loved it. And then also on Tuesday, because Wednesday we went to Central Park, and then also, and Tuesday night we went to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Broadway, on Broadway, and even though I had already seen the play once before this trip, it was really cool seeing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway. That was cool. That was a really great experience as well with my mom. I love that story, Cursed Child, even though it's kind of goes into that kind of time travel, kind of timey-wimey kind of storytelling, which, doesn't work in every way, but I love the humor. I love the way that a lot of the characters are just bouncing off of each other, and how they all relate and all that. It's Cursed Child. It has its issues, but I like the story and I like the humor, and it was a great experience. And then Wednesday, on the 23rd, we went to Central Park, and also we did this Staten Island Ferry kind of, not tour necessarily, but we went on the Staten Island Ferry, not necessarily to go to Staten Island, but we got to see the Statue of Liberty, and it was free too. So it was a free ferry trip, in which we got to see the Statue of Liberty. We didn't go to Liberty Island, but it was cool nonetheless. I really enjoyed that. And then I think one last thing we did was go to Times Square, as well, at night. And what I have to say about Times Square is, like, it's the city that never sleeps. I'll just say that. It's the city that never sleeps. But Times Square is really pretty at night, actually, even with how busy it is. And that was awesome. And it was an amazing trip. I did not want to leave. I did not want to say goodbye. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay. But alas, we went home on the 24th. And I also, I mentioned this before in the past, on the way to New York and then on the way back from New York, we stopped at the Denver airport in Denver, Colorado, and I got some pretty cool shots I got some really nice shots going to New York and coming back from New York from above the sky, and those are some really awesome views that I got to get photos of. So lovely trip. But one other thing I want to talk about here before I end this off, you know, I'm going to also like include photos in the intro and outro of this video as a bit of a tribute to the trip as well. So yeah, and one last thing I want to cover here. As you all know my history with, you know, AnnaSophia Robb. You all know my history with that, for those of you that have followed me the longest. And, you know, now with this trip, I have a similar story with the Carrie Diaries as I did for Soul Surfer. I have a similar story now because my mom and I, we stayed in Midtown. We stayed in Midtown at a Hilton hotel, and you know, the Carrie Diaries, that show, it filmed at some of that show filmed in Midtown. So, and you know, she's been there. She lives there now. I mean, not in Midtown specifically, but she lives in the area, AnnaSophia Robb. And the entire time on this trip, it just felt kind of, I don't know, like a little bit, like kind of like this kind of sensational feeling in a way, where I felt the same way when I was in Kauai several years back, back in 2018, when I was on vacation with my family in the Hawaiian Islands, and I was in Kauai. I had that same feeling on the New York trip, because AnnaSophia Robb has been here, and she lives here, and when I was in Central Park with my mom, she made a post on her Instagram, and some of the tall buildings behind her looked familiar, like maybe I walked past them at some point on my trip, and I wasn't sure exactly where it was that photo of Anna was, you know, taken. I don't know, but that photo was taken around the same time, or that post was made around the same time I was in Central Park with my mom, and it was kind of a odd feeling that I had when I saw that post on her Instagram while I was in Central Park. Okay, hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying about AnnaSophia Robb. You know, it just, this kind of odd, sensational feeling I had during the trip, in which it feels, this is the closest I've ever been to her without ever crossing paths. This is the closest I've ever been to her being in the same area that she is, but never crossing paths. And I didn't bump into her or anything like that, but I just had that feeling that, you know, this is the closest I've ever been to her, because we're in the same area. And interesting little feeling there. But yeah, and that kind of just, you know, it's a lot. As you all know, you know, like Denver, Colorado. She was born in Denver, Colorado, so there's also that, because I was there too. I was in Denver, Colorado, switching planes back and forth, going from New York and back, and so there's all that. But now that I'm done talking about all that stuff, I got to talk about Central Park, because when my mom and I got into the park, you know, there were a bunch of like people that were like offering rides, and this one guy offered me and my mom like this 90 it wasn't 90 minutes, but it was decently long enough, and we got to see quite a bit of Central Park on this like kind of bike tour that my mom and I did. And we got to see quite a few spots within Central Park, especially that one bridge from Spider-Man 3. That was cool. Got to see a few more filming locations for the Spider-Man films within Central Park, as well as the movie Elf, and also Home Alone 2. Several different locations within Central Park where we got to see spots where movies were filmed, and kind of contributed a little bit to the superhero walking tour I did the previous day. So that was really awesome too. It was a great weather too. It was actually really good weather. Yeah, lovely weather, and it was a great trip. So that should do it for all my thoughts and my discussion of this trip. It was an amazing trip, and I absolutely loved it, and I want to go back. My mom has a timeshare in New York, so I'm sure that within the future we'll go back, and I will be really happy when we do. I cannot wait to go back to New York. I did not want to leave. I did not want to leave. So that should do it for this tribute / discussion of my New York trip. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.
How can that be? Look what love gave us.